Welcome everybody to this incredible interview on the Heal Online Expo, where we are breaking barriers, busting myths, and bringing you tomorrow's healing technology today. And one of the most important people on the planet who is doing all of that is inventor and scientist David Schmidt. And I want to welcome you to the Heal Expo, and also thank you because David Schmidt and LifeWave is one of our major VIP sponsors. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Sandra. Pleasure to be here with you. Looking forward to it.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody all about you. David Schmidt is the visionary founder and CEO of LifeWave, a company at the forefront of innovative health technology. With over 30 years' experience in business and product development, David's background includes a formal education in management information systems and biology from Pace University. He has successfully launched several entrepreneur ventures, including Advanced Applications Group, a research and development center specializing in energy production technologies for both military and commercial production. At Advanced Applications Group, David developed groundbreaking methods for producing hydrogen and oxygen, designed multi-fuel, bladeless turbine power generation systems, and constructed metal combustion rocket engines. So we proudly say he's our rocket scientist. His innovations earned him an honorary doctorate from Dr. Alexander Marinaccio of the International Hall of Fame of Inventors. He was also invited to participate in the US Navy's Next Generation mini-sub program due to his work on emergency oxygen systems for General Dynamics and the Navy. We're going to get into that a little bit. David's journey into health technology began with intense research into phototherapy and the concept of enhancing energy and stamina through natural means. This research led to the development of LifeWave technology, which utilizes wireless communication via phototherapy to elevate fat burning and energy levels. The LifeWave patches, including the revolutionary X39 patch, harnessing phototherapy, promoting a more youthful state without the need for injections. Under David's leadership, LifeWave has expanded into approximately 100 countries, establishing offices in the United States, Ireland, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, to name a few, with warehouse distribution facilities worldwide. LifeWave has been recognized multiple times by Inc. magazine as one of the fastest growing companies in the world. And over the past 2 years, LifeWave has experienced the most remarkable momentum phase, achieving over 2,000% growth and becoming one of the top 150 only direct marketing companies in the world. Whoa, okay. This is such a major accomplishment. And it just so happens that David and LifeWave are celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. And LifeWave continues to innovate with new technologies and product launches. So recently, LifeWave introduced a stem cell activation eye cream, Alovita's new Revive eye cream, that was which merges cutting edge science and natural ingredients to improve skin health. The thing I love to tell people about is that David is also a dedicated humanitarian, which is probably not going to surprise any of you, that somebody with this mind and this heart, of course, would be that. And he has developed a drone. I think you and your son developed this drone, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. This drone that not only delivers LifeWave patches, but also purifies the air, taking in polluted air and releasing clean air, demonstrating his commitment to environmental sustainability. David holds 140 issued patents and with more than 70 in the field of regenerative science and technology. His innovations, including the double helix conductor, showcase his ability to blend electromagnetics and non-electromagnetic fields to enhance wound healing, rivaling stem cell injections. This relentless pursuit of innovation continues to drive LifeWave's mission to improve health and wellness through advanced, non-invasive technologies. And I'm sure that even that has changed in the last few weeks, because as a senior presidential director in this LifeWave company, and proud to be so, I'm not only proud to bring you David Schmidt, this incredible man and friend, but to have him explain to you how this all came about. And, the fact that when you have a mind like this, you never stop. So, I mean, one of my questions down the track is, what else have you got on the books at the moment? But let's start from the beginning first. I'd love to ask you, what was your secret mission as a boy, and how did it lead to the breakthrough that became LifeWave? Like, yeah.
Secret missions. So my friends and I, we would like to sit around and imagine if we could be superheroes, which one would we like to be and what powers would we like to have? So I think, when you're 6, 7, 8 years old and you're reading comic books, men and women, maybe they look at this a little bit differently, but for young boys, their options, right? Maybe I could be Spider-Man, maybe I could be Iron Man or Superman or something like that. So we used to have, but I do think that things have changed quite a bit in society, and people that are that age now, they're used to being on their iPads or their cell phones, and it's very important for people to foster and develop creativity, be out in nature, be learning from the world around them. And that was certainly very critically important to me growing up, to have that foundation, because later I would continue to look towards God and nature for solutions, to create technology that would be in harmony with nature, so that we could be creating things that were sustainable. And so having that foundation very early on was critically important.
So what is it about light that fascinates you?
Light is really the foundation of everything. And when we look at human beings, if we look at the cell nucleus and at the DNA, what has been established now, perhaps since the 1970s, initiating with Fritz Pop, is that all living cells emit light, whether or not they be plant, animal, or human. And that's very easy to validate. You take living cells, you put them in a room that's completely dark, and use a photomultiplier tube, and you can measure highly coherent pulses of light coming off of these cells. And nature never does anything in a random fashion. There's always a reason for it. And as it turns out, light will initiate thousands of different chemical reactions within the body. It's the central control means. And where that light comes in and of itself is very interesting. So by studying light, and studying biophotons, we can understand how the human body is really working, and then we can create new technology to improve our health without having to rely on drugs or some other means.
Which actually you have done with the LifeWave reverse aging patch system, right? Okay, I've got a question about that down further, but I really want to ask you this. Your background includes work with the mini submarines and propulsion systems. How has your knowledge of toroidal energy, fluid dynamics, and kinetic body dynamics influenced the development of LifeWave patches? And
so when I was in college, I was getting a degree in management and computer science, and then I went back to get another. After I graduated, I went back for a degree in biology, and I became friendly with the chairman of the biology department. And I told him that I had this idea about how we might be able to treat cancer naturally. And in this case, I wanted to use a blend of different types of electromagnetic fields to selectively depolarize the cell of a cancer cell without harming healthy cells. And so I got a lab to work in. I got a grant from a company in New Jersey, and I received a donation from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And so I engaged in a 2-year research program to look at how we could electromagnetically influence the growth rates of 2 different types of cancer cells, an immunogenic and non-immunogenic form. And that study resulted in an understanding of some of the dynamics that occur within healthy tissue versus cancerous tissue, and it led to a successful outcome. So that experience proved very valuable later in life, because as I was working on this project to develop a power supply for the US Navy, it was an emergency power generation system. I was using a toroidal flow through a turbine and through a special type of combustor to generate power. And one day when I was driving home, I was up living in Georgia at the time, and I had a lab up in the mountains of Georgia. I was driving around Lake Lanier, and I thought, the living cells must have a toroidal flow, and as a communications channel between the cell membrane and the cell nucleus. I don't know if I can prove it's there, but if I can use that as a communications channel, then we might be able to develop a new technology for communicating with the cell. And that was the initial idea of where LifeWave came from.
Wow, I guess that was is there any truth to the idea that LifeWave patches might have a toroidal effect on the reflection of biophotons?
Yes, absolutely. Because it's not an accident that the patches are circular. I have experimented with elliptical patches and patches that use light polarizing film which all produce some very interesting effects. But at the end of the day, it's what can you manufacture that's going to be cost effective so we can get a product to consumers that they can afford and use. But yes, absolutely. There is, while we haven't observed it with any type of equipment, we would need probably a squid magnetometer to do that. My hypothesis would be that there's a toroidal field underneath the patch, but that's unvalidated.
Yeah, wow. So if we can talk about X39 for a minute, could you clarify the difference in the quality of the light reflection from one patch to another? Like, does the mode of action of the light differ between patches?
They do. They do. And X39 would represent our 3rd generation of patch technology. What the patches all have in common is that they contain organic materials, which are stereoisomers of amino acids and sugars, and they're processed in a specific way so that they will stimulate the skin with very specific wavelengths of light. So this is a new form of low-level light therapy. And depending on the patch will depend on which wavelengths of light are emitted or reflected and which stimulate the skin. And that, of course, affects the outcome. So in the most basic mechanism, we're stimulating the skin with low levels of light. This ramps up energy production in the cell. And then in the case of X39, we see an increase in the blood in levels of GHK-Cu copper peptide.
Right. And so each patch, for instance, you've got a patch that, is it true to say that it informs the liver to start producing glutathione, or like it informs are they an information? Yeah. Is this a high frequency information tool?
It's definitely an information/communication tool. So
Right.
if we look at how living systems work, we can really break this down into information and energy production. So all living cells have to make or use energy, and all living cells have to communicate with their environment. And we call this signal induction and signal transduction, but it simply means there has to be communication within the environment of the cell, and then cells have to be able to communicate with what's going on in the world around them. And all of this is absolutely vital to the health and survival of the cells. So in the normal, quote unquote, normal human aging process, both of those systems break down. The ability for humans to produce energy declines with age, and the ability of cells to communicate with their environment declines with age. So anything that we can do to improve energy production and improve communications is going to be an anti-aging slash age reversal technology. So this is what we've been doing for 20 years, is looking at improving the way that people age, and then hopefully finding ways to stop aging altogether, which has been my focus now for at least the last 6 years.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And in my 70s, the sooner the better.
Oh, you definitely don't look like you're in your 70s.
Well, I was just going to say stem cells, baby, but I'm probably not allowed to say that. I'm allowed to say X39, right?
Right.
Could you explain the effect of the patches on the cell membranes and their electrodynamic potential?
Yeah, this is something we went back, it was in 2005, where we started using a piece of equipment called an RJL. And at that time, the RJL was capable of measuring the phase angle and the cell capacitance. So the membrane will have a positive and negative charge. So very much a cell is similar to a capacitor or a battery in that it has an electrical field around it, and it's also polarized. So with this type of equipment, you can measure what would be the voltage around a cell, and you can also measure what's the ability of the cell to detoxify and take in nutrition. And then we use other types of equipment, like you could use VO2 max as one example, but we measure what is going on in the mitochondria, and where is the mitochondria getting its energy from proteins, fats, carbohydrates, what are the ratios, and what's the overall energy output in the mitochondria. And these things are important because one of the things that we saw with the energy patches, which was our first product back in early 2000s, was that within 20 minutes of applying them, we were seeing an increase in cell capacitance. So in other words, normally with age, the cells will shrink. And when you wear the energy patches, we saw the cells go in the opposite direction. They were actually able to volumize. In a separate study with Dr. Frank Schallenberger, who's pretty well-known MD, we were able to see that within 20 minutes of wearing the patches, that there was a 23% increase in fat burning and increase in total energy output in the cell. So this is very much an anti-aging technology.
Wow. I love that it is a science-backed product, that you and I've heard you say this, that you will be devoted till the day you die. One is to continuing to help humanity on this level, but also to making sure that you're doing the clinical studies to prove that what you're bringing to the world really does what it says it does. Can I ask you what the effects of the patches are on various tissues and systems, such as the cardiovascular system, the nervous system, the lymphatic system, for instance?
So we do a variety of different types of clinical studies to measure what exactly is going on in the body. So the first thing that I want to know when I design a product is it doing what it's designed to do? So in the case of X39, it was designed to increase production of copper peptide, a GHK-Cu. And so the first tests completely centered around doing blood analysis. So we wanted to know if we took somebody and took a measurement of their copper peptide levels on day 1, and then we applied a patch, would we see a change in levels of copper peptide within the first 24 hours? And then were we able to sustain those levels over a period of the next week? And that would give us a pretty good idea. So what we found to statistical significance is that when you wear the patch, it did elevate copper peptide within the first 24 hours. And then with continued use, again, to statistical significance, it keeps the copper peptide levels elevated. So that was a great start, because now there is already a database of what's known about that peptide, what it will do for the health of the body. But then we went on to perform studies using urine analysis. So, for example, we looked at how did use of the product improve the metabolism? What did it do in terms of synthesis of different amino acids, which we learned a lot. And again, we hit statistical significance in those studies. And then we did some studies in India where we were using some more esoteric techniques, looking at biophoton emission from the body and looking at what effect this would have on the cardiovascular system. And generally speaking, what we saw was that when you use the product over a period of the first week to the first month, that there is an improvement in overall health and wellness. So, for example, people apply the patch, and within the very first 7 days, they see an improvement in the quality of sleep, the improvement in energy levels in the body, and remarkable recovery from exercise. So this is all quantified through these studies.
Amazing. So, and people often say to me, oh, I put the patch on and I didn't feel a thing. And I say to them, well, hang on, you've got no idea what's actually going on in your body. And stem cells are very, very intelligent cells. The body itself is incredibly intelligent, and it will use the LifeWave technology to go into the deepest part of the body where the body needs healing first. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, that's absolutely correct. And what I also say is when people take vitamin supplements, you don't necessarily feel those vitamin supplements working, but you know that they're doing some good, and you have to rely on people that do clinical studies. Most of the time, I would say with 85% of the population, they do feel, and we know this from the questionnaires that we give people during studies, that they feel an improvement in energy, they feel better sleep. So often when people use the product, they should fill out a lifestyle questionnaire beforehand, and then they can go back a week later and say, yeah, my skin is better. I am sleeping better. I do have more energy through the day. It's often a matter of people aren't keeping track of their results, but they're there nonetheless.
I agree. I think tracking your results with any form of natural healthcare is important. I know when Daniel and I first started using this technology 5 years ago, for the first 3 months we were both high, and I'm like, what's going on? And of course, we had spent millions of dollars and many, many years working with spiritual masters around the world in order to pursue enlightenment and to live in those states. And we were using the patches, and it was like, I said to Daniel, are you feeling this? Like, has your brain gone into that state? He said, yeah. And then it was 6 months later that I got up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't a 7 o'clock in the morning person. And I was much later than that. And Daniel said, do you realize that you're getting up at 7 and going to the gym? And I went, I know, my body just wants to do it. Like it was almost like the body had more energy and a will of its own wanting to move. And so that was the first time that I've gone, it was 3 to 6 months into using them. And I'm like, oh, yeah, something really big is happening here. And it was a definite change in lifestyle for a 66-year-old. And that, yeah, because most 66-year-olds don't race out of bed and want to start moving and go to the gym and are capable of doing it, right?
Right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
that's your technology at work. I remember that when we were in Aruba, you said you were talking to us and you said, oh, this technology actually, does it change the gene expression? It changes over 1/3 of our gene expression to a younger, healthier, stronger state. And then the next sentence was, and it was a bit of a tease, it was, well, what about the other 2/3? And we all stood up and clapped because we're going, oh, he must be working on the other 2/3. Would it be true to say that where you're going now is expanding beyond the patch system into other technology that will, help us with the other 2/3 of gene expression?
So the first part of that is that the reason to be interested in copper peptide is that Dr. Lauren Picard, who discovered this peptide, he should get complete credit for this because his work was foundational to what we understand about copper peptide today. He had found that indeed copper peptide would reset about a third of the human genome to a more youthful state. So that means we could have a better quality skin, better energy metabolism, overall better health. And this is, let's say, the power of things like resveratrol and olive oil. I'd once had the pleasure of working with a doctor in Rome, and he had done research on the Mediterranean diet, and his comment was that the power of the Mediterranean diet is almost exclusively all in olive oil. And as it turns out, a real, authentic, organic olive oil is capable of resetting two of the sirtuin genes to a more youthful state. So this is when we're looking at age reversal and longevity, a few things that are on the checklist are, number one, can we get the energy production in the body back to a more youthful state? Can we turn on collagen production? Can we improve the way people's antioxidant systems work, their detoxification? We need to keep the telomeres long and healthy so the cells can continue to divide. And then the information system. If the genes are flipped back to a more youthful state, then in fact, the cells become younger and healthier. So the work that we started here about 6 years ago, after X39 was first released, was to really focus on this longevity piece. And where we began was to look at species like ants and lobsters that defy normal aging. So in the case of ants, they do age, but if they're infected with a specific type of parasite, they can increase their lifespan by 5 to 6 times above normal. In the case of lobsters, they really don't age. There have been lobsters that are found that are 130 years old, completely youthful, and the only time a lobster dies is it either becomes sick, it's eaten by a predator, or it outgrows its shell. So by studying these creatures, we can understand how they're regenerating, how they are living so long without aging, and the hope is we develop technology so human beings can benefit from that. So my studies for the last 6 years and have all been around trying to answer that question. Can we develop technology by observing nature that stops and reverses human aging? And the conclusion that I've come to is yes, that's certainly within reach.
Okay. Well, I don't know about everybody watching this, but I am super excited about this conversation. And I just want to congratulate you because 20 years in business is a big deal. A lot of businesses don't last past 5 years. And I understand that the first 5 years of LifeWave were tough. And you've had your criticisms and everything because people haven't understood this mind and this mindset. And so and of course, doctors are trained to work with drugs. They're not necessarily trained to work with light and energy, so they don't necessarily understand this either. And but you've been able to come out of this with a company that is quite frankly on top of the world. And there's not a company like LifeWave on the planet. So if you're wanting to take this even further, and I don't know that you even need to, it almost feels like you're on this momentum roll that the company is just going to, the more technology you bring out, the more excited people are going to be. Like I'm hoping that you'll be introducing a new technology in October at the convention. I'm hoping because
Would be affirmative.
Okay, good, because I know, being a friend and having your big, generous heart help Daniel and myself in the last 2 years. Believe me, for everybody watching this, David Schmidt is always busting barriers and breaking barriers and busting myths and bringing tomorrow's technology today, because this is what this man does. And I was telling somebody about you the other day, and they said to me, oh, so we've really got to look after him, don't we? And I looked at him and I said, well, you're the first person that's just got it straight away. Yes, we really do want to look after you. So the other, I mean, I've got so many more questions, but we're over the half hour, and I want to thank you for giving us your time. I also want to thank you, just so you know, that David and LifeWave, as a major LifeWave sponsor, one of the things that they've done is they've given us 10 X39 sleeves to give away during this Heal Week. And we'll let you know how you can, you know, play with us in order to win one of these. So I want to thank you again for that generous spirit. And in case people don't know, this humanitarian man with LifeWave has been sending money, patches, and medical supplies around the world to war-torn places, to hurricane places, to flooding. I mean, you're dedicated, and you know, he's so dedicated that when he got frustrated with the Red Cross not being able to deliver things, he got together with his son and created the drone, right?
Right.
I thought that was pretty exciting. And I want to put out there that you actually create a car, a LifeWave car, with with the drone technology, because I guess it would be a bit like the Jetsons, I'm not sure. But anyway, we want a car from you, because we know that everything that you do is looking at the environment in a way. We know that the environment of the cell is one of the most important things, right? If the environment is not right, then the cell dies. And what your technology is doing is really changing the environment as well, isn't it? Helping the environment of the cell. So we know that the environment is messed up for so many reasons, and I just feel like a LifeWave car should be on your list.
That would be a fun project, I would say. Yeah, the drone project has occupied, I'd say, a significant amount of my time. We're into this 3 years now, and so we're at the point where the technology has matured. We have the drone, and for the people listening, these are not toy drones. This is a proper aircraft that has a 15-foot wingspan and carries, 150, 200 pounds and more, and will break the world record on drone flight with it. And the idea is that we can use this for search and rescue, border patrol, assisting organizations like the Red Cross for disaster relief, coordinating search and rescue efforts. There's any number of different applications that are possible with it now. And we're just getting to the point where it's become a very mature tech, and there isn't any other company that has produced technology that's remotely similar. So looking forward to more and more in the coming years with the drone, for sure.
Yeah.
But maybe a car after that, who knows?
And maybe a car after that, exactly.
Who knows? Yeah.
Thank you
Who
so
knows?
much.
Yeah.
And I'm going to finish just by telling everybody that as a child, I think this man, even as a child, absolutely loved Star Trek, as a lot of us were Trekkies. And Beam Me Down Scotty was one of the things I think was very important for him. And I have actually seen David beam into a massive room full of like thousands of people, and there he is on stage, but he's not really. And I just want to say that technology, I'm sure that you're working more with that as well, and that's super exciting.
Yeah, for the folks that come to our event in October, we're sold out now, and we have a huge waiting list. But we'll have over 5,000 people at that event, and we'll be talking more about it. We've integrated AI now into that unit, and I've already given a presentation in South Korea when I was in Europe, and I was speaking in Korean. And that all happened thanks to modern computer science. So yeah, so you could imagine if you're based in California, or if you're in Australia and you want to do a meeting on the other side of the planet, or multiple meetings a day. Now with this technology, you can do that, and it looks like you're right there, and you can speak in whatever language your audience wants to listen in. It's incredible.
Okay, so is everybody just like, your mind has expanded to this state right now? David, Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and from Daniel, for being the man that you are on this planet. This planet needs you right now more than ever, and you and your technology and LifeWave. And I'm inviting everybody to consider joining LifeWave in whatever way that you can, because it will be a game changer in your life and the lives of those you know and love. God bless you, David, and thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. God bless.
Thanks.